Now, pets can very easily get burnt. Typical examples could be you've got a bonfire and the dog runs out over the ashes or gets burnt directly from an open fire, maybe jumps up a cooker, gets scalded by hot water. There's lots of different ways of animals getting burnt. One typical one with cats can be where someone has got one of these stoves in their lounge. They put the stove in all summer, the cat jumps on it, sits on it, goes to sleep on it because it's nice and cool, being cast iron, pulls all the heat out. And then the cat comes in over winter, you've lit it, jumps up there and burns all four paws. So it does happen, and again with burns on pets, it's different from burns on humans because the pet can't tell you what's wrong, but also they have hair, much more hair. So if you've got some of these burns with direct naked flames, it's very easy for the hair just to catch fire. And very quickly you can get a burn from a leg going straight up around the head and burning around the ears and around the respiratory system. So it will depend quite a lot on where the burn is on the animal to how severe it is and how potentially life-threatening it is. Now, the other thing is, if you've got certain areas of burn, so around the mouth, the eyes, then this can be a big problem because not only are you having to deal with the burn, but also they might be having trouble with actually breathing. The other thing can be if there's maybe a house fire or something like that, they've inhaled hot smoke. What this can do is, same as it happens with humans, they inhale it, they can actually burn into their respiratory tract, which will cause swelling, restricts the airways, and also restricts the efficiency of it, and then that can cause some respiratory problems. So if you do get into these environments, sometimes CPR is necessary. You hear quite a lot of stories where firemen bringing dogs or cats out of a burning home and they're not breathing. This is where CPR can be really, really useful. Sometimes the fire service will also use supplementary oxygen as well, just to be able to give better oxygen to the animal and hopefully revive it. So bringing that back a little bit just to dealing with burns on the first aid side. Number one, always must wear gloves when you're dealing with any burn. Now, we haven't really spoken in other modules about getting wounds infected and things like that, but burns are really important that we do ensure that we have our gloves on, because we don't want to introduce any other bacteria over it. If the layers of skin have been removed, the body has got now no defensing against infection. So it depends how many layers of the 3 key layers of the skin are burnt, but it will be a major infection risk. So other things we can do, you could use standard cling film over a burn. What that is, it gives a plastic layer, but what you'd never want to do is wrap it around the dog's leg, because with burns it causes swelling. If you swell up and then it's got cling film on it, that can be a problem. So just apply it over in layers if you did have the burn. But the very first thing you want to do with any burn is cool it. Now the dog this size, if it's got a burn, it's in pain, you're going to have to try and get it out and hose it down. And some dogs just hate water, others dogs love it. But you know, if you imagine it's an autumn day and you've got a bonfire problem, then you've got to also worry about cooling the dog down too much, and then hypothermia can be a problem. So try and, if it's just one leg, try and just cool that down. And we say with running water, but running water could be a bucket of water and a cup, and you just pour it over and the water goes back into the bucket. But then keep getting that fresh as well, because you want to try and make sure that you keep it cooling, because eventually that water is going to start warming up. But where possible, if it's smaller animals or even medium-sized dogs, you might have to pick them up, put them into the sink and clean water straight out of the taps. They're not going to like it, but it's so important. You may well have burnt yourself on the cooker, you run your finger on the tap for 20 seconds or so, and then you walk back across the kitchen and it hurts again. It's because you haven't fully cooled it. Once we've done that, then you can put the cling film on, or we can put on a burn dressing, which we'll have a look at in a minute. Some things you do not do. We don't want to put things like lard and butter. It's a bit of an old wives' tale from years and years ago. I know my grandmother always used to say about putting butter on a burn. The problem with putting butter on a burn is it will actually make things worse. So no oils, no creams, no ointments. So make sure you cool it, and then you can look at putting on a burns dressing. The most important thing, if you've got a dog with a bad burn, you must get it to the vet. But what we're doing now is trying to look at some products that we should put on to cool that burn and also leave on, maybe while we're then transferring them to the vets. Now, when a dog or any animal has got a burn, then it's going to also have problems with infection, which is why we said earlier about using cling film. But there are also different burn dressings you can get. And this is a standard human type burns kit. In here we've got different things. We have a spray. With this you can actually put the burns fluid straight over the burn and it will help to cool it. It's a very quick cooling action. We've also got sachets, which have got the cooling gel in them. So smaller burns, you can just put these directly over the burn. And then we have these, which are normal burns dressings. Now, a typical one with a pet may be a burn dressing like this. But maybe you're out and about and you need to put a burns dressing on, but you haven't got access to water. This is where these are really good. To open them, there's a little nick there, so just tear that open. So once you've opened the dressing up, then you can just pull it out. And the dressing itself is wet and it's like a foam type substance. So you can apply that directly over the burn. Don't just put it on the burn, but make sure it's big enough to go over the outside. So if you've got a very small burn and the dressing's this size, you can also just fold it in half and then lay it over the burn. Now, just with this laying on my fingers now, I can feel it cold. It does pull through. It's not actually cold, it's just the fact it's a wet dressing that's very, very good at drawing the heat out of the burn and cooling it. Once you've cooled a burn, then also these sorts of dressings and also the cling film can help very well, is you keep the air away from it and also you can be reducing pain. So burns are very, very painful, as you know yourself, but something like this will also help reduce the pain. You also need to have a really good look around the burn, because you might see a very bad burnt area, and you may see that in different ways. You have superficial burns, which are just sort of red, partial thickness burns, which have got blistering on them, and full thickness, which goes straight through, and they're more of a black and very dark red colour. You can obviously see it's very bad. You may also see on an animal quite a large area where the hair's burnt, but that hasn't actually damaged the skin. So try and concentrate where the burn actually is to put these dressings on. So these, just pick the sizes on. We put links to all these products on the download area and the shop on our website. But finally, it's just worth mentioning chemical burns. Now, chemicals can be poisonous to dogs and cats. However, they can also cause problems when they get onto their skin. So make sure that you keep chemicals locked away. If you do find an animal's got chemical on it for any reason, you need to wash it off. Make sure when you're washing it off, the chemical is going away from the animal. So for example, if it's got chemical on one side of its face, make sure that the runoff from when you're washing it doesn't go onto the other side of the face. And also with chemicals, make sure that you're not getting that chemical anywhere near their mouth, and then they could lick the wound, things like that, and actually cause them more problems. So chemical burns are a problem. The only other type of burn that can be a problem with some breeds of dogs is actually sunburn. You wouldn't think it, but some dogs can get sunburn if they haven't got much hair on them. So number one, back to the same as humans, is prevention is better than cure. But if you do have problems, then you can use these dressings, or there are special ointments that you can actually put on dogs if they are prone to getting sunburn.